trying to get you. Still, Capcom still fucking up. Alright?
Oh, this I've gone
But
on
their
a
individual
rage.
teams are.
You alright, Faye?
We're seeing
My
that
connection's
right
down.
now.
Now look.
So, you
Lost your
understand,
way in the storm.
they're just
Don't
trying
worry.
to get
I'll
back.
be home for supper.
They're not back. Oh, they're back.
your
We
friend,
can forgive them for everything.
Yeah.
No.
It's too much for her.
Let them go. Alright? Have fun playing those big rides. We will be back soon. Like I said, no more hype. I'm back. I will talk to y'all later. Y'all can say, hey, go play those big rides. Go have fun and go live your life. I'll talk to you later. Y'all can say, I'm out.
This is part 1 of a 2-part Anthem review. This video will focus on Anthem's campaign, story, mission design, core gameplay, early loot game, and technical state. The second video, which will cover Anthem's in-game rhythm, high difficulty scaling, class design, and build diversity systems, will come in a few weeks' time after I've had the chance to finish the story. This video will contain minor spoilers and highlight examples, but none of that should undermine your appreciation for Anthem's story elements. Do note that I do show footage of the last one. In 1998, BioWare released Baldur's Gate, a game that took the pen and paper RPG that people had been playing for decades and put it into people's computers, practically inventing the CRPG genre overnight. The sequel, Baldur's Gate 2, released in 2000, went on to become the most acclaimed CRPG of all time, eclipsed only recently by Divinity Original Sin 2. It took 18 years to make a game as good as Baldur's Gate 2. In 2003, BioWare released what many people would consider the greatest Star Wars game ever made. Knights of the Old Republic combined some incredible writing and characterization with some competent and accessible RPG systems to deliver one of the best Star Wars adventures outside the movies. In my view, and in the view of many others, 16 years later, there still has never been a better Star Wars game. In 2007, BioWare, who clearly understood the magic at the heart of Star Wars DNA, released their own space opera, Mass Effect, a sprawling multi-galactic saga of warring species, political intrigue, romance, and mystery. A tale of diabolical peril on an unfathomable scale, tempered by perfect, quiet moments of glory and tension. The Mass Effect trilogy ended poorly, but despite this, its light is undimmed, and since then, I think only The Witcher 3 has equaled it in scale and storytelling brilliance. 12 years on, the original Mass Effect trilogy still stands tall in the pantheon of gaming greatest achievements. In 2017, BioWare released the much-anticipated sequel to the Mass Effect series, Mass Effect Andromeda. It was a disappointment. It was not a bad game, but it was a bad Mass Effect game. And following on from the bitterness of the Mass Effect 3 ending, fans wondered if the BioWare they knew and loved was still there, or if the passage of time had seen too much changing of the guard, or too many new priorities emerge. As the reality of Mass Effect Andromeda had set in, many people had pushed a narrative that it was the B team to blame. Developed by BioWare in Montreal instead of BioWare Edmonton, the argument went that this wasn't the real BioWare that had made all of these masterpieces, it was a satellite office who held the name but not the magic. BioWare didn't tell us this story, EA didn't tell us this story, people told themselves that story in order to maintain the hope that the BioWare that had given us so many great games was still there. They were simply working on it, and when it arrived, we'd see that BioWare was alive and well, all our fears would be gone. Now, having played through the campaign of Anthem, I can confidently say that the story that many people told themselves was just that. It was just a story. It had no basis in fact whatsoever. Because Anthem, made by BioWare's A-Team, was a colossal disappointment. Every single problem that plagued Andromeda is far, far worse here in Anthem. In fact, Anthem introduces a host of new problems in its choice of genre and the limited and uninspired way it chose to mimic the worst aspects of that genre without bringing anything of substance to compensate for this complication. I know this is a live service game, and I know it will be updated with patches and DLC, but you cannot unbake the hate. And what's wrong with Anthem is baked so deep into its crust that whole components of the game's mechanics and engine would need to be ripped out and replaced in order to fix it. I'm talking core components of animation, enemy AI, ship registration, and encounter design. I'm talking about loading screens, groaning to reveal unintelligible menus, leading to only more loading screens. I'm talking about the fact that there's only one map, every part of it looks the same. I'm talking about the most repetitive feeling campaign I've ever played in a looting game. I'm talking about storytelling that is a gigantic step back for these once proud master storytellers. I'm talking about shooting mechanics that are the worst across the entire spectrum of the looter shooter genre, and a loot game that is held hostage by the need to monetize the armor and characters. Anthem is the worst game BioWare has ever put out. The Old Republic was a competent but derivative MMO with an absolutely brilliant story. Anthem is an utterly incompetent looter shooter with an abysmal story. Its lack of vision and narrative is matched only by its horror texture state. Where Baldur's Gate, KOTOR and Massive have a shelf life measured in decades, we cannot yet even begin to run the clock on Anthem's shelf life because the game is so far from finished that it simply would not make sense. Almost every looter has long stories, but Anthem feels particularly weak as it fails to heed the lessons of all of those failed launches before it, or recognize just how competent and entrenched the competition has become over the 6 years that it has been in development. Now in a highly competitive, arguably saturated market with no redeeming virtues, and only the faint hope of future improvements to keep it alive. If 6 years was not enough to get this thing into shape, then what good was 6 weeks and 6 months? Some people may find out, but the overwhelming majority of people will not be sticking around, myself included. In its current form, Anthem is everything wrong with AAA. Trend chasing, designed by committee, releasing core features, monetized, shrewdly marketed, buggy as hell, and pushed out before it was finished. If nothing else, I sincerely hope Anthem serves as a wake-up call for how broken the AAA live service development model has become. If it achieves this and only this, perhaps Mass Effect will be one.
Can you get my bag?
Coverage.
Don't suffer from bad coverage. Google Phone, a better phone plan by Google.
The heart of BioWare games has always been their stories. Gameplay was absolutely incredible in their older games like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights and Dragon Age Origins, but as BioWare moved into the console market, their gameplay systems became far simpler and more accessible. They were still great, they were just a lot more streamlined. Despite this, their stories remained dense, full of imagination, superbly written, particularly Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect. Just fantastic. Since the moment Anthem was announced, BioWare fans have been asking themselves, and others, is this really going to be a true BioWare game? Is it going to have the commitment to great storytelling that BioWare is known for? With the exception of Borderlands, the looter-shooter genre has always struggled to nail storytelling, and fans wondered if Anthem would suffer the same fate as Destiny or The Division, their bland stories shoved into the background as players were invited to painfully excavate the lore through in-game audio logs or out-of-game grimoire cards. Anthem's story is absolutely better than vanilla Destiny or The Division. There are cutscenes, they have a clear narrative flow, the voice acting is actually superb, there's a clear beginning, middle, and end, it strives for some stakes and some dramatic tension, and it has some characters that work really well. It might be considered a decent enough story in most other games, but for BioWare, this story is just so beneath their legacy. It is a very, very bog-standard tale about a bad guy who wants a thing for generic bad guy reasons, and a ragtag group of people trying to stop him. The foundations of the world building here are surprisingly strong. There's a cutscene towards the start of the game which really sets the scene for the battle ahead and mythologizes some heroes. But that cutscene is literally the only good story beat in the entire game. It's all downhill from there. The rest of the game, you're left looking back at that cutscene thinking, why can't I just have more of that? It feels like the lore of the freelancers and the world they inhabit is completely squandered in a story that just crescendos into absolute nothingness. And can I just say, you thought Mass Effect 3's ending was bad? Holy shit. Wait until you get a load of this. I won't spoil it, but Yeah, anyway, let's move on. One of the things I found really ingenious about the way that BioWare handled the game's villain, whose name is the Monitor, is that instead of just making him sound angry and crazy, they actually voiced him in the exact same way that Josh Brolin voices Thanos.
No, that's not how we conduct business. I find that pain is no substitute for money. So let's negotiate.
He's quiet, he's deliberate, he's subdued, he exudes confidence and self-assuredness because he doesn't need to bellow to get what he wants. He just quietly takes it. But unlike Thanos, the Monitor has nothing interesting to say at all, and the voice is actually hiding how one-dimensional this guy is. Like, if you take any one of his lines and then voice